Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Spurs Up Show, the best Gamecocks podcast on the internet. Today is Tuesday, November the 17th, 2020. On today's show, former Gamecocks football player Alex McGrath joins me. He does each and every single Tuesday, and boy, do we have a lot to get into. I'll get Alex's full thoughts as we talk Will Muschamp being fired, the Gamecocks relieving Will Muschamp of his duties. I'll get Alex's full thoughts, what it means for South Carolina football moving forward. I'll also get his thoughts on some of the potential candidates, some of the potential names circulating right now, and again, what he wants to see from South Carolina in these final three games of the 2020 football season. Also, we do discuss the Ole Miss game in its entirety and also even some golf talk, breaking down the Masters as Dustin Johnson does get the W there. So we got a packed show, guys. Sit back, relax, enjoy. It's all brought to you by our friends over at Upstate Movers Group. Guys, Upstate Movers Group, superior moving service. They bring care and attention other companies can't offer because they're just too busy maintaining trucks and profiting off of them instead of focusing on service. Guys, service is what separates Upstate Movers Group from the competition. So they're not a trucking company. They're a moving services company, and they're also employee-owned co-op, guys, which means their movers are paid twice the industry average, and everyone on the crew is just as invested in the success of the project as you are. They have dedicated professional crew members, and they also offer black glove service. They offer end-to-end packing services, custom crating and packaging for special items, and cleaning services as well. They are founded by Greenville natives and University of South Carolina alumni, guys. So a Gamecock-owned small business. They offer 20 years of project management and moving experience, and they can offer logistics and solutions that traditional moving companies simply do not have the skills for. Guys, be sure to check them out. Upstate Movers Group. They're on social media at Upstate Movers Group. And of course, check out their website, upstatemoversgroup.com. That is upstatemoversgroup.com. Again, guys, if you have any moving needs, whether you're in the upstate, you're across the state of South Carolina, guys, Upstate Movers Group is the way to go. And of course, a Gamecock-owned small business, guys. You know we're all about Gamecocks, helping Gamecocks here on this show. So again, check them out. They're on social media, upstatemoversgroup.com for any of your moving needs. And of course, their website, upstatemoversgroup.com. That is upstatemoversgroup.com. Be sure to check them out and tell them Chris from the Spurs Up Show sent you. The show is also brought to you by our friends over at Southern Oaks Remodeling. Guys, Southern Oaks Remodeling, locally and family owned, over 15 years of experience. They specialize in roofing, windows, doors, siding, and additions, and they're serving the greater Columbia area, guys. They were also founded by Gamecocks. So again, another Gamecock-owned small business. They're on social media, Facebook, Instagram, you name it. They're on social media, and you can also give them a call for any of your remodeling needs. That's 803-899-0284. Again, 803-899-0284. Guys, whatever the project is, again, they do it all. Roofing, windows, doors, siding, additions, whatever remodeling project you may have. If you need an estimate, you have some questions, concerns, whatever. You know they know what they're doing, guys. Over 15 years of experience. Also, locally and family owned, guys. That's really what stands out to me with Southern Oaks Remodeling is truly the people. The people are what make the difference. And again, with Southern Oaks Remodeling, they're going to make the difference for you. So again, you can check them out via social media. And of course, give them a call for all of your questions, all of your concerns, whatever it may be. Take care of that remodeling project today over at 803-899-0284. That's 803-899-0284. Guys, the show is also brought to you by our friends over at Yardware. Yardware is a veteran-owned and operating company licensed by the University of South Carolina, selling must-have Carolina yard and wall signs. So, guys, these signs are made out of 12-gauge laser-cut steel, and they come in both garnet and black. Guys, I've got mine in my studio. The quality, the detail behind these things is incredible. Football season's in full swing. Christmas is right around the corner. This is a must-have for any Gamecock fan. You can put it anywhere, your yard, your studio, your office, your living room, dining room, bedroom, your man cave, your garage, wherever, but it's a must-have for any Gamecock fan. You can find them on social media as well at Yardware Signs, and you can order yours today at yardwaresigns.com. That is yardwaresigns.com. Again, guys, must-have for any Gamecock fan, especially with the holidays coming up, guys. This is the perfect stocking stuffer, perfect gift. Only $34.95, so it's not going to break the bank, guys. So, again, that is Yardware Signs. Check them out. They're on social media at Yardware Signs. You can order your sign today on their website, yardwaresigns.com. That is yardwaresigns.com. Finally, guys, the show is brought to you by our friends over at MyBookie. Guys, between the NFL, college football, any of the other sporting events, there's no shortage of games to watch. And with thousands of lines available on all your favorite sports and events, you can turn your game day into payday with MyBookie. Guys, if you're the person that likes to back the big favorites, consider putting a couple in a parlay for a much bigger payout. Not only do parlays make meaningless games exciting, but more importantly, they give you a chance to turn ordinary bets into a real moneymaker. And of course, guys, don't forget the underdogs, right? They have a ton of great value. The thing about college football and the NFL and sports in general, the underdogs never truly are dogs, right? Every team truly has a chance to win, and you do as well. Game spreads, championship futures, and player prop bets. It's never too late to get on the action and start turning your sports knowledge into actual cash in your wallet. Guys, you can sign up today at mybookie.ag. That's mybookie.ag. And when you do, use the promo code Gamecocks to claim a deposit match dollar for dollar all the way up to $1,000. So, guys, you go to mybookie.ag, use promo code Gamecocks, put in $1,000. They are going to give you a match all the way up to $1,000 in a free play, guys. It's a win-win. You can't lose in that scenario. It's a bonus designed to give you a little help and a head start on your winning season. So again, guys, that's promo code Gamecocks. Again, promo code Gamecocks. You to claim your bonus when you make your first deposit. Stacked UFC cards, college football, NFL, all the major sports and more. Sign up today to begin your winning season exclusively at MyBookie. Let's get it. Former Gamecocks football player Alex McGrath. Alex, before we dive into everything, again, it's going to be crazy 24, 48, 72 hours, if you will, sir. How was your weekend? I will tell you, by the way, up front, I played golf on Saturday, some of the worst golf I've played in months. But yeah, anyway, so I hope your weekend went better than mine, at least if you hit the links this past weekend.
I unfortunately did not hit the links this past weekend, but I fortunately did get to watch a ton of golf.
Yeah, but and we have Masters to talk about. And we have Masters to talk about.
Oh, yeah. And so I was, obviously glad to see DJ bring it home after a pretty dominant performance on his part. So it was a good weekend, man.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's funny. All of the stuff that happened with South Carolina, obviously, first off with the game, and then obviously all day Sunday and everything that happened with Will Muschamp kind of overshadowed the Masters, but I know we were all watching, and dude, I thought the course played beautifully, man. I thought it was a great tournament. Obviously, Augusta National did a first-class job in hosting the event, and yeah, it was cool to see DJ. And I loved, I don't know if you noticed this, the Gamecock logo got a little cameo on the 18th green when his brother was putting the scorebook in his pocket, and you saw the game. I was like, there we go, Gamecock logo getting a little bit of love. So it was I felt like with DJ, you knew it was just only a matter of time. I mean, he's just so good of a player. I mean, not surprising at all.
Oh, yeah. No, and two, with as much rain as they got, just kind of the different season.
Oh, yeah.
It was ripe to be, kind of pushed around like that, and he just striped the ball all weekend and put himself in the right spots, and dude, that's how you get to minus 20.
Guys were throwing darts out there. Like, it was incredible.
Oh, yeah. And we don't have to get into this now, but just like the guys that were missing the green even in like spots that you wouldn't typically be able to stop a ball, just to be able to throw it next to the hole like that was atypical for Augusta, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, no, I was going to say the last thing on the golf side of things. Did you see Tiger make a 10 yesterday on number 12? Did you see
Unreal.
that? What?
Unreal. It was just unreal.
12 is
and then followed it up, making 5. He birdied 4 of the next 5 holes.
Yeah, to actually finish under par after he made a 10. So,
yeah,
kudos to Tiger. I guess. What a Masters it was. But yeah,
that's impressive.
Let's get to the main topic of conversation, because I was joking with you off air. Obviously, normally on a Tuesday we're breaking down the game that was, and we can talk about it a little bit if you want, but the main topic of conversation all week this week, at least until we get later in the week, is it finally happened, Alex. Now, I saw you smiling a little bigger today than normal. Will Muschamp finally being relieved of his duties, being fired as the head coach of the University of South Carolina. I want to just get your initial thoughts, initial reactions. Obviously, I talked to you on Sunday. I gave you a call, and I kind of told you, it took a little bit longer than I expected, but it seemed like things were about to come down. You heard the chatters last week over the weekend, and those were the rumblings. And then you heard things going into the Ole Miss game. And after that loss to Ole Miss, Sunday, I really thought, I was like, man, I'll be really surprised if something big doesn't come down. And sure enough, South kind of pulls the trigger, makes the decision to fire Will Muschamp. When you saw the news, your initial thoughts and initial reactions to Will Muschamp being fired?
Chris, I woke up this morning honestly feeling better about the direction of the program than I have since 2015. And like, look, somebody lost their job. I get it. That's an unfortunate thing. He's going to be very well taken care of financially. So, I mean, don't shed a tear here. But, finally, everybody came to the correct conclusion that this is not the guy that's going to take us to the next level. And I mean, that was blatantly apparent Saturday night. Not
even take us to the next level, but just stay consistent, the level of just making bowl games and actually being competitive in games. I mean, I think that was the biggest thing. It's not like I think South Carolina fans had these unrealistic expectations of, replicating the Spurrier years or anything crazy. But I mean, just, again, I feel like it's so obvious at this point, just what you were seeing, especially on the defensive side, it was screaming. You had to do the obvious thing. That was make a change. So I think you made a great point, though, too. Again, he's going to be very well taken care of, and it's something I joked with you a little bit off air, but I feel like I almost have to say, especially me, because, listen, I lit up the victory cigar, and I'm not hiding from it. I'm celebrating, and I'm ecstatic. I'm elated. All the positive adjectives, man. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling great as we're discussing this. But you need to let people know, or at least I let people know, it's nothing personal. Obviously, it's nothing personal with the guy. I'm so excited for the University of South Carolina, the football program, and the fans especially, because, Alex, I don't know if you felt this on Saturday, but for me, it was the least game day feeling game day I had felt in so long. I was dreading it. And that especially sounds bad doing what I do, but I was in a sense dreading game day, dreading what might come of it. And that's just not a great place to be as a fan or as a supporter of a football team. But again, people need to realize, of course, it is nothing personal. I mean, it's crazy we have to say that, but you've got some people on social media that just want to take everything personally. So it's nothing personal. It's a results-oriented business. They all know that when you're paid that kind of money. And I would still argue to this day, Will Muschamp, Sunday through Friday, one of the best coaches in the country. There's a disconnect on Saturday, but and that's what you get paid to do, is you get paid to win on Saturdays, and he simply just did not do enough of that.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's that. I mean, and two, like, look, I don't know Will Muschamp. I know just from watching him be a head coach for almost 10 years now, he's just not good at it.
Right.
And, at the end of the day, this isn't Little League football where everybody gets a trophy and you get your orange slices at halftime. There's going to be criticism because you're getting paid $4.5 million annually to do this, and now we're going to end up and pay him. I mean, I think the sum between us and Florida is something like $20.5 million to no longer coach anymore. You know what? You're going to get some shots in that, and you're fine. You can take the criticism, and it's like nobody's rooting for bad things to happen to him, or at least that I've seen. I think the celebration is that he's not in charge anymore, and we weren't going in the right direction. Everybody knew that. This is best for both parties. Move forward.
Yeah, no,
I really personal attack on him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I agree with you 110%. Again, like you said, the fact that has to be stated is kind of crazy, but I will say, at least on my end of things, for better or for worse, I got labeled as the fire Muschamp guy. I mean, my thoughts and comments were very well known and vocalized, 2019 after the UNC game. And I'll tell people still to this day, I hate that I was right. I would have loved to have seen it work here, but just bottom line, it didn't get done. I really want to get your take, Alex, because I think it's interesting. Again, you understand the economics and the financial side of things and just sort of how all that works. I truly do tip my cap and commend Bob Caslen, the board of trustees, everybody behind closed doors that made this happen, for not letting financials hold this thing back. Because we had talked about it a lot, that we both felt like South Carolina, if they really wanted to pay the buyout, if they really got to that point, that they could do it. I think the buyout was a bit of a smokescreen. Listen, it's a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, but we've talked about it ad nauseum, obviously, with the buyout. Just give me your thoughts on, again, the board making that move, Bob Caslen pulling the trigger. And I think neither one of us was really surprised, especially when you start hearing rumors of your top boosters being very disgruntled, saying, I'm not gonna give another penny to this athletics department until you change head coach. You're handcuffed at that point. You don't have a choice. You can't piss those people off. When those people, their names are on the ops building or they're on whatever other facilities you have, you don't really have a choice at that point. I mean, your big money's speaking and you got to move. But what I love from this perspective, this move is like people can't say that South Carolina's cheap anymore necessarily. Like South Carolina made a decision. They wanted to get him out. They're opening their wallets, opening their checkbooks. And I love it from the fan perspective because it screams to me, you know what? Winning is important. It is the most important thing, and we're going to make that decision to get us closer to that goal. Just your overall thoughts, though, on the people behind closed doors making this happen.
Yeah, I think most of that came from Caslin, just kind of reading the tea leaves and looking at, notes from press conferences and things like that. I mean, at the end of the day, 13. If it's settled at 13 million, which again I don't think it will be, that's a lot of money to us or to an individual. When you think about it in terms of the amount of money that we raise for boosters on an annual basis, or what the revenue actually is from the athletic department or from the football program specifically, when you're talking in 9 figures, hundreds of millions of dollars from those types of deals, it's much more manageable in that sense. Look, and I get it, it's a bad look. You're in the pandemic, you've got athletic departments across the country cutting sports, and you've got revenue projections that are coming up way short of even the most lowballed estimates. And certainly there's better environments to make this happen. But when you don't do something like this, and you've got boosters that control what facilities go in or what renovations get made to the stadium, really keeping this staff in place was opportunity cost. Sure, we could do it to not pay that buyout, but what does that cost us 5 years from now? What does it cost us 10 years from now? What does it cost us next year? And I think, eventually you get to a tipping point where that opportunity cost far outweighs whatever you're going to owe him in a negotiated settlement. And that's what happened.
Yeah, Alex, I think, and not to overreact, I think you would have done long-term, possibly irreversible damage to this football program if you would have just said, well, you know what, we're in the middle of a pandemic and a COVID year, and we can't buy him out, we can't do this. And, again, we talked about, I think, a little bit last week, to be in a situation where and the coach knows and everybody knows the only reason your coach is still employed is because you don't want to pay his buyout. That's a horrible position to be in as a program. I mean, how are you supposed to recruit? How are you supposed to sell your program? How are you supposed to sell yourself as a legitimate program as a whole when you're letting that hold you back, if you will, or that's the only reason you're keeping your coach employed? So, I really do tip my cap to, I commend Bob Caslin. And that's what I said all offseason, that Bob Caslin would be the wild card in this scenario, because I tricked myself into saying, hey, no matter what, it's a COVID year. It don't matter if you go 2-8, 1-9. Will Muschamp will be back in 2021. But it's funny I make that point, Alex, because it's really easy to say that in June. It's easy to say that in July. But when you get in the middle of it and emotions are running high and you see it play out on the field, it's much harder to ignore it. So, I know Bob Caslin, his hiring or what have you was very much under scrutiny. Wasn't the most popular decision amongst a lot of people, but I do commend him for, again, pulling the trigger and making this decision for the betterment of the South Carolina football program. So
100%. And, he's got a track record of trying to do this stuff, and athletics is important to him as a, college football player himself. Like this is an important piece of this puzzle to him. And I think we saw that in the decision.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I know we've already talked about the candidates a little bit, Alex, but of course, that's where we move to now. Again, Will Muschamp has been fired. Mike Bobo takes over as interim head coach, which we'll actually get into that first, and I'll ask you about the candidates, because Mike Bobo is taking over as the interim. Here's the thing. Season's not over. You got 3 more opportunities to go play some games, go win some football games. You got Mizzou, Georgia, and then Kentucky. You're sitting right now at 2-5 with 3 more left to play. Again, Bobo taking over as the interim. I'll ask you, obviously Mike Bobo is not going to get the job. And Ray Tanner said in the presser on Monday that, we'll evaluate it. But he said what he had to say, but there's no way in hell Mike Bobo is going to keep the job. There's absolutely none. Is there anything specifically, though, for you as a former player, as an alum, as a fan? I mean, is there really anything specifically you're looking for from these last 3 games from Mike Bobo or this team or anybody involved? Or is it kind of just, okay, if we win all 3, great. If we lose all 3, whatever, we're just kind of focused on finding the next head coach?
So my wish would be that they completely turn it loose and play completely reckless, throw everybody in there, see what you can do, open auditions all over the place. Like, you know what, let's just throw in there. It doesn't matter. Let's see who can play and who can't play. That's what I hope happens. As far as like from a head coaching perspective, or, who I would want to see for the rest of the year, like they could have named you the interim head coach and I would have been fine with it at this point. I just don't have to deal with the Muschamp circus next year. Right. So that's fine.
I tend to agree with you, man. Because we're sitting here on a Tuesday, game day this weekend against Mizzou, and I know Colin Hill is Mike Bobo's guy, but man, at the same time, like, why not just start Luke Doty? Who cares? Who cares at this point? And the year doesn't count for eligibility. Why not? Hey, like you said, pull out all the stops. It's a lost cause anyways. I will be and that's obviously going to be one of the top storylines going in this weekend. How much do things change, or if at all, which, would be sad to see if they don't change at all, but how much do they, in regards to the next head coach, Alex, because obviously, again, that's where the conversation is going to shift. That's where things are going to shift, because over the next month and a half, maybe 2 months, I tend to think this decision will be made by December 16th, which is the signing day, the early signing day, if you will, or the new signing day, whatever. It is signing day. I think by that date, it sounds like from what Ray Tanner was saying, they want to have this decision in place by then. But I think this is really interesting. He was talking about what they'll be looking for in the next head coach. And I tweeted this out. He said he mentions today's game of college football and how teams are lighting up the scoreboard. Getting an offensive mind seems to be of utmost importance in this search. So I think certainly from what I heard from Ray Tanner, and he also said no candidates are off the table. So Hugh Freeze, Urban Meyer, Bob Stoops, whoever, those unrealistic hires you maybe thought were impossible, nobody's off the table. They're going to be calling everybody. And I know you, Alex, for sure. Your mindset is going to be those guys are got to tell me no before I move to anybody else. Just talk about, again, your overall thoughts on the University of South Carolina right now being in a head coaching search. Again, we all sort of know the popular names, and we've sort of kind of touched on, I think we did last week, of who you'd prefer to see take over. But what are your overall feelings on the University of South Carolina right now as they go throughout this coaching search with the candidates that we know are available?
So if I was going to pick 3, just kind of right off the bat, really what I'm looking for, kind of echo Ray Tanner's comments, are you're going to want somebody who's offensively innovative. And again, I think being able to be adaptable and throw things at a defense that kind of keeps them off balance, that gives them a new look, whether that shifts, motions, whatever that has to be, to give yourself a competitive advantage against the likes of, Georgia's, Florida's, Auburn's, Alabama's, where you're not going to be consistently in the same recruiting world that they are. So we want to bring somebody in that gives us an advantage in that space. On the back end of that, I would, looking at the candidates that we have available, who, oddly enough, as we've been talking, Bob Stoops just got added to that list.
Indeed. No, it's been a name floating around. It's been a name floating around.
Oh, well, I just mean like Gamecocks Central just threw it up there.
Oh, did they? Okay. Well, hey, I got a DM from somebody that's saying that, hey, have you heard Urban Meyer is on campus? I'm like, there's no way that's possible. But the rumors are already getting fired up. So
for whatever that's worth, there's been some smoke to the he's been in the president's suite twice this year. For whatever that's worth. I don't know where that's going, but right. I just, on good authority, I've heard that. Right. Either way, I think on the kind of initial list that they shot out there, Not pulling from my own who I would want to see. I think my top three would probably be, in no particular order, Jamie Chadwell, Luke Fickell, and this is going to sound crazy, but I think I'd almost rather have Shane Beamer than Hugh Freeze. And I say that I wouldn't be unhappy with Hugh Freeze because he's a really good coach. I just feel like there's less baggage with Shane. And, Shane was a coach when I was there, and he's just an all-world, all-class guy that I know is going to bring in a top-notch staff, and he's a tireless recruiter.
Yeah, I've been learning under Lincoln Riley, which is not a bad guy to learn under for sure. It's funny. I've made this point a few times, Alex, but it's just, I tell people, and this is not a justification to say, oh, screw it, just go get whoever you want. Doesn't really matter. But it's crazy to think that, in my opinion, there's not a candidate out there that would be a worse hire than Will Muschamp was in 2015. And I'm not trying to kick the guy while he's down. He's fired. It is what it is. It's done with. But really, just realistically, calling a spade, there's not a guy out there who has a worse track record that you could go hire. I mean, there are pros and cons to every single candidate. You look, some guys have checkered past. Some guys don't have a lot of experience, especially the SEC level. But there's nobody that I feel like we're looking at right now that we're like, this guy got fired from another school. Like, it almost makes me think, because, again, I wasn't doing the Spurs Up show back in 2015. It almost makes me think, like, God, what were we doing? Like, again, hindsight is 2020 for sure. But I want to get your thoughts on this, Alex, because when I look at this head coaching search, again, you mentioned the Bob Stoops, the Urban Meyers, even the Hugh Freezes. And I think there's a contrast in like those guys and the guys like the Billy Napiers, the Jamie Chadwells, the Shane Beamers who haven't had the pros and cons between the two are different. I almost feel like this is the perfect time. And again, I don't totally disagree with you. You got to have a guy like Stoops and Meyer tell you no, because that would be just an all-world, all-class hire. But at the same time, I am a little exhausted from taking other teams' leftovers. I think this is the perfect time to roll the dice on a guy and just take a flyer. And again, it's hard for me to say, people ask me, who is your number one candidate? Well, I'd like to talk to the guys. I'd like to be part of the vetting process. I'd like to interview them rigorously, find out who they are and just everything about them. I think that means a lot. I think it does, especially like in the sense of Hugh Freeze, right? Like Hugh Freeze is a very hot name, popular name, but the last thing you want to have happen is Hugh Freeze get hired at South Carolina, and the same thing happened with the results. Nobody wants an NCAA sanction, even for a couple of winning seasons. I don't know. I just view this as, I think this could be the perfect time to roll the dice on the guy, take a flyer on a guy, a Chadwell, a Napier, even a Shane Beamer. Again, I'm all for, those guys, those bigger guys, they have to tell you no. But, like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, do you prefer one or the other? Would you rather have – because, I mean, of course, you bring in a guy like Stoops or Meyer. Hey, those guys are national championship head coaches. That means something. You know what I mean? When you're on the recruiting trail trying to get a kid in there, that's – hey, when you can flash a ring like Steve Spurrier used to do, that means something to kids. You know what I mean? So I just wonder what is your take on that? Because, again, like I said, I'll reiterate it one more time. I think right now where South Carolina is, this just, in my opinion, is the perfect time for the Gamecocks to roll the dice on somebody.
Yeah, no, I agree with that in a sense. I think Urban Meyer is a much different hire than Bob Stoops would be, for a couple of different reasons. Like if you had to ballpark career losses that Urban Meyer has, what would you ballpark that at?
Is it even double digits? I guess that's the question. It's
so
like
is
10?
His career coaching record is 187-32.
Okay.
So I think if you can get somebody like that, I think you have to do it.
Does any of the off-field stuff bother you in any way? Because his career was
from him,
right? From Meyer.
No, look, if he coaches for 5 years and he has to retire due to health concerns, and we get an SEC title out of it, yeah. That's just the cost of doing business with Urban.
Right,
so
right, I tend to agree. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if we're not going to go that direction, a part of me would almost rather have like a Fickell or a Chadwell or a Napier.
I think it'd be fun to build with somebody. I think it'd be fun. Yeah, I think it'd be fun to build with somebody. Again, I'm the same way as you. Like, if we only got 5 years of Urban Meyer, but you got a SEC, winning a ring is all that matters. I mean, as bad as that may sound, again, I'm not saying sacrifice your morals or your character or whatever for it, but hey, guess what? Nobody cares about what happened at Florida with all the guys they had on the roster. They won a national championship. That's all that matters. That's all you see. Yeah, exactly. They won 2. That's all you see in the rafters in the swamp. You don't see anything else about any of the other stuff. They won a national title. They won 2 national titles. So, yeah, if you can make that happen, for sure. How about Hugh Freeze? Does his off-the-field stuff bother you? I mean, is that one where you think you need to vet him out and kind of figure out what his deal is?
So, yeah, I mean, I think you obviously have to do it. I mean, I don't know what else you're going to vet out there that hasn't already been revealed in some report somewhere. I was talking to a buddy about this yesterday, and if it came down to, like, Fickle, Chadwell, Napier, I'm leaving somebody off. Whoever mysterious
Joe Brady maybe
versus Freeze. Yeah, Joe Brady. Like, I would rather have them than Freeze, but I wouldn't be disappointed if we hired Freeze, if that makes sense.
Right. Are there any like, I hate to call it like nightmare hire because that sounds so bad, but like, are there any names floating around right now that you see that you're like, absolutely not? That'd be a terrible move.
I saw somebody post Rhett Lashley.
Yeah, that was actually Barrett Salee at CBS Sports or whatever. And he's the first guy I've seen throw that name out there. I was surprised at that.
So that would be deeply concerning. Ron Zook comes to mind.
Oh God. Yeah, I mean, I'd be concerned too. If South Carolina even thinks of the names Zook or McElwain or any other Florida guy, I'm done. I'm absolutely done. No more Florida coaches, except if it's Meyer.
Unless it's Urban.
That's the only guy.
Unless it's Urban.
Yeah.
And he's really a Buckeye coach now, so that's irrelevant.
Right, exactly.
So no, I haven't seen anything that like concerns me that I've seen thrown out there so far.
Right.
If it was, it's certainly I don't want anybody else off the Saban tree. So Steve Sarkisian's one I've seen thrown out there that I don't really want any part of.
I wouldn't love that one either.
Yeah,
I'm kind of over. I'm like you. I'm just over the Sabanites. Like I don't need to see another Sabanite take the job. Yeah, I mean,
well, it's working out like all the Belichick hires that people make, where it's like, yeah, they're good with Saban, but then they get on their own and they kind of flounder. So, I'd rather not see that.
Yeah, again, I look at this coaching search and I think that they need to have the specific qualities we talked about, offensive minded, and really when you say offensive minded, what you're trying to say is aggressive. You're trying to say innovative. Because I think at South Carolina, you have to think outside of the box if you're going to win big. You're not recruiting in the top 10 or even a top 5 or top 10 clip every year, right? Now, granted, you're recruiting good enough talent to win. There's no question. I mean, South Carolina, I think the composite ratings has them as like the 20th best roster in college football, which made the Muschamp tenure even less or even more inexcusable, right? So you have talent to win, but I still think, for example, you need to run spread, I think. You need to use a guy like a Luke Doty, Gunnar Stockton, DeCarrion Joyner even. Like, it needs to be that style of football. You need to be aggressive. You can't be kicking a field goal down 24-10 or 41-0. That's just obvious. And I'm stating the obvious, but that's what we've been dealing with. So you need that aggressive mindset. And, of course, you need a guy who is, number one, a relentless recruiter, but number two, is going to hire a staff full of relentless recruiters. And obviously you talk about his character stuff and running a great program. That's all fine and dandy. But again, and I saw somebody point this out on social media and they put it beautifully. This decision to fire Will Muschamp goes to show you can be the best person in the world. You can have the best character. You can run the cleanest program. You can have the best graduation rate. If you do not win, none of it matters. None. And people can sugarcoat it and pretend like it. Bro, you're getting paid this much money to do this job. If you don't win games, none of the other stuff. The other stuffs are nice to have. Winning is a must to have. And if you don't win enough,
100%.
What happens? Yeah, exactly. So that's why
I'll give you a good litmus test that would probably be an interesting one for the fan base. Let's hypothetically say Art Briles' name worked its way into the mix. Where would you fall on that one?
Right. I mean, see, I'm much more forgiving than a lot of the fan base would be because I just want to win. Hey, just win, baby. That's it. I mean, I joke when I say this, but I'm like, I'd take 3 years of sanctions for an SEC title. I really don't care at this point. I just want to. I just want a ring. I just want a ring. As bad as that, man. And obviously, again, I don't prefer that. It's not the ideal situation. But the point I'm trying to make is just get a ring. Just get a ring. Find a way to get a ring. But I mean, of course, I'm half-heartedly saying that. I don't want to bring Hugh Freeze in and him tell you in the interview, I'm planning on cheating to get good players here. Just so you know, it's like, oh, okay, that's fine. We'll turn a blind eye. Do whatever you got to do. We're not going to say that, but I will just be very interested to see the direction South kind of goes in this coaching search because, again, I think there's like a contrast between the two different – because what kills me is I think Hugh Freeze is like the guy everyone's expecting us to court the hardest, and I wonder if that'll be the case. So
I don't think it will be for whatever it's worth.
Yeah.
I think it's more the group of five success.
Would you say Meyer would be your dream hire? Is that like if you could just pick one guy?
100%. Yeah. No, because he the guy just wins.
Yeah.
And look,
hey, that's the argument for Freeze too.
Suspect characters on his team. Well, I mean, his stuff wasn't nearly. I mean, his is really more just like he's just kind of he will bring in suspect individuals into the program, for lack of a better term,
scumbags.
If you will. And so that's the one you'd have to get over. But I mean, he's not calling hookers from a burner phone either. Right, so I think that's a little easier to kind of get past.
Yeah. I tell you, I said this on my live stream on Monday, man. I tell you this, if nothing else about the Urban Meyer hire, if that were to happen from a selfish standpoint, man, God, that'd make for some great content. I would be such a fan of that in regards to the content and the press conferences. Sign me up. It's so funny. I said this on the Monday show, Alex, but I'll tell you, just speaking of press conferences, isn't it so nice? Never again do you have to hear a justification why we kicked a field goal down 41. Never again do you have to hear the same pre-canned answers on a Tuesday press conference. Never again do you have to deal with any of the Muschamp-isms that came along with Will Muschamp being the head coach at South Carolina.
I know. We don't have to ever hear again how they won more games in the first 3 years than any other.
Yes. Well, Alex, we can talk about the Ole Miss game for just a quick second if you want. I mean, obviously, again, there was a game over the weekend. Gamecocks losing to Ole Miss, and again, we joked off air it was a necessary evil, and I made light of it in a post on Sunday night as well. But no, I mean, again, we definitely need to mention Kevin Harris's name, what he did on Saturday night, 243 rushing yards, set a school record. Again, you think about all the great running backs that have come through the University of South Carolina, George Rogers, Marcus Lattimore, Deuce Staley, both Mike Davises, Brandon Bennett. None of them have ever done what Kevin Harris did, rushing for 5 touchdowns in a game. He was a man on a mission Saturday night. Just talk about his play from Saturday, and I will tell you this, if nothing else, and assuming everybody stays on roster, Kevin, Deshaun, Marshawn Lloyd, assuming they're all still there next year, because you have to think there might be a little bit of a fallout in regards to transfers or what have you. But the state of the Gamecocks running back position looks to be very, very, very good over the next few years. Like the next head coach is going to have a stable of backs to work with.
100%. No, I mean, at the end of the day, hats off to Kevin Harris. I mean, that was
shame. It had to come in a losing effort. It's a damn shame, honestly.
That was just, he ended up with 250 and 5 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Averaging 9 yards a touch.
Yeah.
I mean, that's incredible. And hats off to him. I mean, the offense played, considerably well. I mean, it's just, Ole Miss was running a very similar defense to what we were running, where we just didn't want to tackle anybody. So, we looked good on offense. It was just an open spigot on defense, unfortunately, and that's kind of where we ended up.
Yeah, you talk about the defense, obviously, and again, what are you going to say? Ole Miss was 700 yards. I think we were talking about. After the game. That's the whole difference. Is that with Muschamp's Gamecocks and Kiffin's Rebels. The difference is Ole Miss isn't very good, but damn, were they fun to watch Saturday night. Going for it on every fourth down. It looked like Steve Spurrier. I thought Spurrier was coaching Ole Miss. That's what it felt like. I want to ask you this because I'm pretty sure you were on the team at this point. Somebody pointed this out on social media that this game reminded them a lot of the Darren McFadden and Felix Jones game where he ran. I think Darren McFadden ran for like 400 yards on his own or something. I think he might have thrown one too. But of course, the point they made was, hey, that Arkansas team was actually good. So I thought that was funny because I thought of you. Yeah, I thought of you because I was like, I'm pretty sure Alex was there at that point. But man, that defense just got shredded. I mean, there's just no other way to put it, man. It was a truly ugly display. Like we said, a very necessary evil. We will we will take the fallout,
to say the least. Yeah.
What's up, guys? Hope you're enjoying the show. When you're running a small business, there are a lot of different tasks and challenges you face. You're wearing all the different hats. You're getting pulled many different directions, and you feel like you don't have enough time in your day. Literally anything that can make your life easier, you're open to it. Guys, if you're growing an e-commerce business, if that is your focus, you need a platform that's focused on growth. That's where my friends over at Klaviyo comes in, and today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Klaviyo. Klaviyo is the ultimate e-commerce marketing platform for online brands of all kinds and all sizes. Whether you're just getting started or you're running a well-known brand, it gives you everything you need to send memorable branded emails, text messages, and more, so you can build strong relationships that keep your customers coming back. Guys, with flexible automations, powerful insights, and super precise targeting, Klaviyo is a faster way to turn great ideas into great customer experiences. That's why it's trusted by more than 40,000 brands like Living Proof, Huckberry, and 8 Sleep. Guys, in fact, an average Klaviyo customers see a 41% increase in overall revenue within 5 months. So Klaviyo scales with you so you never have to switch. They support everything from garage startups to iconic billion-dollar brands. Guys, if you want to learn more about how you can grow your brand with Klaviyo, visit klaviyo.com/grow. That is klaviyo.com/grow to get started with a free trial today. Again, that's klaviyo.com/grow, klaviyo.com/grow. Go check them out and tell them Chris from the Spurs Up Show sent you. Before I get you out of here, Alex, and again, you already kind of touched on this and addressed this. And again, Mike Bobo takes over as the interim. You've got Missouri this weekend, who beat you last year. They've got a first-year head coach in Eli Drinkwitz. And I told people that also, I mean, that was another telltale sign of why it was time to end the Will Muschamp era, because you were in year 5 of it, and a first-year head coach in Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri, they're a 5.5-point favorite at your building. I mean, you can't even explain it. But again, Mike Bobo's the interim, and all eyes, I think, will be on the quarterback position. I don't know how much Mike Bobo's going to change offensively, defensively, if at all. But I think we both agree here, because I very much was, hey, you know what? Colin is playing solid. I thought he played solid Saturday night. He wasn't perfect by any means, but with the limited resources he has to work, he has one receiver to throw to. Let's just call it for what it is. I thought he played solid football, okay? But now that Muschamp has been fired, and the record doesn't even matter. Who cares? Nobody cares what you do in these last 3 games in regards to, oh, you got to win this many, or you got to do this, you got to do that. Do you think Mike Bobo at all will entertain, just like you're saying, kind of just going all out, throwing Luke Doty out there, maybe putting just kind of going crazy with it? Or do you think he's going to stick to his guns and stick with his guy, Colin Hill, and just kind of ride it out throughout the rest of the season? I think that is such an intriguing storyline, and I'll be very interested to see if any changes at all are made to their kind of approach and their game plan of these last 3 games.
I would tell you the brakes are going to come off completely. I think they will throw everything to the wind. I don't think there's going to be a field goal attempt unless it's necessary.
I certainly
in this next game. I mean, because you have to look at it. You got to look at it for him. Like, as unfortunate as it is, like, these last 3 games just turned into a de facto job interview for Mike Bobo. So he's going to want to put something out there that he can use to market himself to other schools. And so I think you will see the brakes completely come off from an offensive philosophy.
I swear, if South Carolina kicks a field goal in a situation they shouldn't, I'd be like, I think Will Muschamp is still up in the box coaching. I think he snuck in there. He's got the
credentials weren't quite revoked.
Yeah, he's got the connection to Bobo's headset down the side. Last thing, really quickly, I want to get your take on this. And again, I thought it was awesome news, the best news today. Connor Shaw getting promoted to quarterbacks coach. How about that? I mean,
awesome.
All time, obviously Gamecock legend, winningest quarterback in school history, and it's always good when you can get some Gamecock blood in the staff. Man, I think people are asking me, do you think the next head coach keeps Connor on staff or whatever involved? I'm like, I think it would be very much so in the next head coach's best interest to, even if you don't keep him as quarterback's coach, you got to keep the guy on staff. If you fire Connor Shaw, I don't even think I should consider you for the job. So you got to at least keep him. If you're going to send him back to director of player development, but having a guy like Connor Shaw involved with your program, especially with his ties to Gunnar Stockton, who you still want to get here, I think that's a smart move.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I would think. Agree.
Yeah, I would think that's
if you can do it. I mean,
yeah.
If there's somebody, I mean, if it's the new guy that's got his guy in place, I mean, that's just
right.
That's
nature of the beast.
That's the breaks of the game. But again, for him too, the last 3 games are going to serve as a de facto job interview for him.
Right.
Like, what can you do in those last 3 games that, should somebody come in and not want to keep you, that you can put on tape somewhere that, like, hey, I did this.
Yeah. Well, Alex, I can tell you this, man, if nothing else, it feels great to once again be excited for game day. And I can't wait for Saturday. And I honestly have not been able to say that in a while. And I know you probably feel the same as well. So we have a reason to watch again. I know, especially for you being an alum and, being such a proud alum of the program. And I know you're thrilled. And obviously, again, like we said in the beginning, it's nothing personal, but man, just to see South kind of be able to close out that chapter, turn the page, let bygones be bygones, and start the healing process and the mending process,
yes.
and the process of getting South Carolina football back to the heights we all know it's capable of being at. I think it's awesome. It's exciting. I'm very happy for the university and for the fans as well. And again, I tip my cap to those people behind closed doors. Whoever you are out there, you open your checkbook. Thank you so much for doing that. If you want to throw a little bit our way, we'll take some as well. But no, Alex, appreciate you taking the time, man. It's always a pleasure to talk, and we'll definitely do it again next week.
Always, man. It is a. Happy day is not the right word, but it is again, it's just, there's something back now that we can look forward to Saturday.
Sun shining a little bit brighter.
Feeling.
Sun shining a little brighter.
Absolutely.
Coffee tastes a little sweeter this morning. Yeah. No, without a doubt, man. Hey, Alex, again, like I said, we'll do it again next week, man. Hopefully after South Carolina win. Why not? So
Absolutely.
He's Alex McGrath. I'm Chris Phillips. We appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on an episode of the Spurs Up Show.